Good evening, Warriors fans. My name is Chase Johnston. It is a special edition. We're not really going to call it a Warriors Wednesday. It's been a while since I've done these Zoom interviews, but joined alongside me is a special guest. We're going to hype us all up for the big Westside Grizzlies Night, Wednesday night when the Warriors host the Penticton Bees. Joined alongside me, the MVP, the leading scorer of the 99-2000 Westside Grizzlies. He is Rogers Sportsnet's Justin Bourne, all the way out in Toronto. Justin, first off, thanks so much for taking time in what is an extremely busy schedule for you. Are you ready to talk Grizzlies hockey?
Anytime anyone wants to. Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. This is cool.
All right. So first off, one of the things that was so enjoyable when we brought the jersey to the Warriors dressing room, the old Westside Grizzlies jersey, the players on the team, who most of them aren't even from West Kelowna, most of them weren't even born, no pun intended, during the 99-2000 year, looked at this jersey, looked at the logo and went, my goodness, that is the minor hockey logo in Westside. But anybody who lived in the central Okanagan looked at that jersey and looked at that logo and went, yes, this is a great idea for a retro logo. Maybe you can paint all of us, the Americans, the out-of-province families, a picture. It wasn't even called West Kelowna, it was called West Bank. What was West Bank back in 99-2000? What was the state of minor hockey then?
Well, first off, we just went by Westside, and that Grizzlies logo, I went to visit my dad who was coaching the Salt Lake City, the Utah Grizzlies at the time, and brought back a bunch of hats. And I think the organization just took that logo because they were done with that old Grizzlies one back in the day. But the state of it, man, I guess a totally different look now. It's a lot more developed, but then it was, I don't know, it was our own little pocket of the community there. The difference from Kelowna to being on the west side, I don't want to call it an inferiority complex, but you definitely felt like they were the villains in the movie, the bad guys, the Hawks in our Mighty Ducks movie. So I don't know, there was a sense of pride of being from a slightly smaller part of that region. And obviously the guys came together pretty well with our shared love of the west side.
Just a reminder to the Warriors fans, there was no London Drugs, Home Depots, Walmarts, or any big box stores. You drove through West Bank, West Side to get to Kelowna, and it was just mainly fields. The population now is about triple or quadruple of what it was. It wasn't necessarily a city. It was more of a small town then, Justin.
Yeah, I guess so. It's funny because I always considered myself from Kelowna, like we were just on the other side of the bridge, but you're right. Like it now feels like you exist independently from Kelowna if you want to. Whereas, we were sort of a suburb of Kelowna in my mind, I guess, growing up. So yeah, and when I think about where West Bank is and where it's busiest now, that felt farther away to me than Kelowna. But I guess now the bridge sort of serves as a much clearer dividing line than it was in my mind living there growing up.
Well, let's talk about the previous seasons. I know we're here to talk about the 99-2000 championship year, but my number one question was, holy smokes, Justin Bourne, 118 points in, I believe, 56 games played. What happened in the Bantam years and maybe the years before that?
I don't know. I was never very good. I just, those Bantam teams were fun, but I played B rep my first year. We had the A rep, the B rep, and the house team, and I played B rep. We were pretty good at that level, but I guess it wasn't the only thing going on. I think it was much more common when I was growing up to do other things than one sport. I golfed and played baseball in the summers, and hockey was just a thing that happened in the winter. And then as you get older, I think people sort of trail off and decided they're not going to take hockey seriously, or you commit more to it. And, I think moving into my midget year, the commitment to hockey grew a little bit. It became more of the focus, more of summertime and camps. And like a lot of kids that age, I think I grew 6 inches one year type of thing. And it just gets a little easier. So the Bantam years were great. I wasn't as committed to hockey. I was telling you off the air, I went to one training camp with new skates that were unsharpened, no edges, tryouts, first time on the ice all summer. So yeah, the commitment was not quite there in Bantam, but things grew in midget and obviously took off from there.
Well, wasn't very good. How humble of you. For those of you who don't know, Justin Bourne ended up having a great career, went to the Vernon Vipers of the BCHL, would have played for the Warriors, I'm sure, if the Warriors were in West Kelowna by then, and then moved on to the University of Alaska. played 4 seasons there, and then even dabbled in a little bit of pro hockey. So pretty decent career, I would say. And then we'll get on to your professional career in broadcasting at the end of this interview. What was the old ice surface like? And I asked you, Jim Lynn. Now you've been living out in the East Coast for a while now, but you just call it the old Mount Boucherie rink.
I think it was just Mount Boucherie Arena growing up. I don't know. Someone will probably call me on that for just my lack of knowledge. But yeah, the ice was, I mean, good. That rink was awesome. You know, I have such fond memories of growing up playing there. You know, really cool stands, you know, the wooden benches. And, you know, as we got older and people started coming to our games, which was like mind-blowing thing when you're that age in high school, and your high school friends show up at a game, it, you know, had the ability to get really noisy. So nothing but fond memories for it. I can't even imagine a world where there's a second more important arena around there, which there obviously is. But yeah, to me, that's still the Mount Boucherie rink.
Let's talk about that 99-2000 season. And if fans always ask me about the 2016 year, I wasn't part of that team, but I've learned so many stories, talked to so many players, and they talk about how rough the beginning and the middle of the season was, and then things just took off at the end. Is that sort of similar in how this year, this 99-2000 year went? I
think there was a sense of, for us figuring out what we were. You know, it's the first time, it was my first year really playing with a lot of those guys. As I said, I didn't play in the A-Rep team in Bantam. And so getting to know those guys, figuring out who we all were and how we played together was a big part of it. And, you know, I look back at that team and I was like, man, we kind of had everything. You know, you had guys that could score, you know, myself and Dave Cunning and Brandon Miller and Brody Carl and Jason Zilke and, you know, a lot of guys. But we also had like a pretty cool physical element, and guys like Justin Cordetti and, you know, Mike Drebit, and, you know, Hellier could score and play that element. We had just such a good decor from top to bottom. So, you know, we were really a well-rounded team. And I think any team has to figure out what they are and what they do well. And you get to a point where you're like, man, we kind of can do everything here. And yeah, it just takes a while to figure out that, man, you're a formidable force.
So you end up defeating Merritt in the regionals or divisional, I don't know what you call it at the time. And then you head to Terrace for the AA provincial championships. That is a longer road trip than any BCHL team would take. I think the longest one for the Warriors is Prince George or Cranbrook. Here you are going all the way to Terrace. And in classic early 2000s fashion, your entire team goes to Shoppers Drug Mart and bleaches your hair blonde. Whose idea was that? Do you know?
I don't know whose idea it was. I know that I would have been definitely opposed to it, but, you know, trying to be a team guy, and also that you just accept that you're not going to look cool when you're doing that. It's a uniting thing for the team. Any teen boys doing Shoppers Drug Mart dye jobs in a bathroom, you're not going to come out looking awesome. Although we did have Charles, our team manager, do it, and he looked awesome. So, you know, it results may vary. I know I didn't look cool, but at least I was a part of it.
Well, you're playing now in that championship game with your bleach blonde hair. You're playing Castlegar, tough Kootenai team, and Castlegar gets up to a 2-0 lead early on. As the captain of this Grizzlies team, what is going through your mind at that point?
I think you start feeling a sense of desperation, like this. Everything you've worked towards and worked for, you know, the sands in the hourglass are just kind of running out. And it's not ever that you doubt your team. And I don't think, you know, we would have been to that point. We had all the confidence in the world in that group. But, you know, are you going to have enough time to get the goals that you needed? And I mentioned that we had a great decor. You know, we ended up getting huge goals from our defensemen, Travis Perro and Travis Martel, and the goals came from the back end. So, like I said, when you're well-rounded, you never know where it's going to come from. But yeah, there's the sense of desperation. And there's not just that, but like having never really played in games that meant that much personally, it's tough to know how you're going to play and how you're going to react. And, you know, I remember talking with Dave Cunning, you know, one of my best friends in the world there before the game about like everything we had worked towards and this is our chance. And so, yeah, there's a lot of pressure. I don't know that when you play at a higher level, you're playing in the NHL or, you know, at any level really, where you feel more pressure than you would in those games because it means just as much to you then as those games do to those players in the NHL.
We know the rest of the story. You kick off the comeback, Justin, scoring the goal, making it, cutting the lead in half, and then you guys end up winning 4-2, winning that championship. I mean, first off, let's just ask, what makes this team so special?
It's friendship. For me, it's about the friends. Brandon Miller and Dave Cunning and I had played together quite a bit. And getting to be together for something like that was really special. Those guys. It's like anything as you get older. Like, we're not in touch as much as you want to be, but something like this is uniting for all the time we spent together and validating for all that time. And as you get older and you play, and I played college and then played in the East Coast League and American League, and you don't form the same bonds with guys that on your East Coast League team. It's not like you went to high school together and you'd been through a bunch of cuts and tryouts and relationships and parties and all that. So that minor hockey stuff, I don't know if anything means more at any level in hockey than what happens in those years. Those are teams. You're really a team at that level. So that's the important stuff.
Back in September, late August, I had a good conversation with President Chris Laurie, and I asked him, BCHL is doing retro jerseys. What do the Warriors do? Because I heard the Langley Rivermen are doing the Langley Thunder, which is technically part of the West Kelowna Warriors organization. Do the Warriors go with the Hornets? And Chris, without hesitation, said, nope, I have this idea. I want to honor this 2000 championship team, minor hockey in West Kelowna. From your standpoint, Justin, why is it important for this community to kind of remember what their identity is in minor hockey?
Well, that's a great question. And first off, shout out to Chris Laurie, and we appreciate him doing this for us. I think it's really cool that you have a team president that is a part of the community and grew up in the community and understands what this meant to people at that time. So that's really cool. And, there is such a, hockey's so important to a lot of communities for what you're talking about, that sort of unity and something that brings everyone together. And, those are my best memories of playing hockey, when it was truly fun, and you enjoyed being at the rink. And, there across Canada, minor hockey enrollment is down. And it's I'm not going to call it a crisis, but it's not good. And, I look back at what that meant to me and how it shaped me, not just as a hockey player for, aiming at a hockey career, but as a person. And you learn about yourself and teamwork and camaraderie and friendships and all that stuff. So I think it's really important to keep that a part of the community and make it a priority for the community. And I understand times are tough in that regard right now, but getting back to that as a focus for us when things are easier on the other side of this is going to be really important to keep that tight knit element of the community.
Well, Justin, after you played personally with the Alaska Anchorage University team, you went on to play a couple seasons of pro in the East Coast as well as the American Hockey League. Then you decided to get into the coaching segment with the Toronto Marlies there, spent a couple seasons there as a video coach. Now you're working with Rogers Sportsnet. You're on the airwaves, both on television and radio. Talk about that, and how did that even start?
It's kind of a natural transition. When I stopped playing hockey, I was 26 or 7. That was my, I took a slap shot to the face and I had to figure out what I was going to do next with my life. Like, the thing I have known my whole existence is hockey. My dad obviously played when I was a kid, and I played my whole life. And it felt like it would be so wasteful to just be like, and now I'm going to be, I don't know, something else. It's where my life has been. So I tried to stay connected to that. And I started a blog back in the day, and that led to some opportunities in media when it became sort of clear that there weren't a lot of people who had played any level of hockey who also could write or had the interest in writing. A lot of these guys play in the NHL make $10 million, and then someone's like, would you like a job in media? And they see media salaries and they're like, nah. So I think I'm that threshold of someone who still had the interest in hockey and wanted to be involved. But, I hadn't made the $10 million, so I was willing to put in the work. It found my niche a little bit, and Sportsnet's been good to me. It's been a really cool opportunity. So I've enjoyed living in Toronto.
Where can fans in West Kelowna might be able to find you? Are you working exclusively with certain teams?
No, Real Kipper and Bourne is, Nick Kiprios and I have a radio show 3 to 5 Eastern, 5 days a week. So it's a radio show podcast. And then I'm on Hockey Central. I write twice a week, every Wednesday and Friday at sportsnet.ca, Twitter. I'm all over this place, man.
Perfect. Well, Justin, thank you so much for reminiscing on the old Westside Grizzlies days. And we'll hope to see you soon, maybe even a little more on television.
Yeah, I wish I could be there for this. Thanks a lot, Chase. I appreciate it.